Isabella. Today I wanted to go over some books that I thought would be really great gifting books in the holiday season. I'll say a little blurb about them, who I could see this book being a great gift for based on their reading taste, and then from there you'll have a nice little guide for last minute Christmas gifts and or holiday gifts. So first we have Oswell by Mona Awad. This is her third novel following 13 Ways of Looking at a Fat Girl, Bunny, and now Oswell. We follow a young theater director who suffers from chronic pain as she's putting on Oswell by Shakespeare. And there's sort of a coup within her company where the students want to put on Macbeth, and it's typical Mona Awad where it dances with surrealism and slight horror elements, and I really enjoyed this. Basically, if they liked Bunny, if they want kind of a weird read, slow, borderline monotonous, but in a fascinating way, I would definitely gift this to that person. Next, kind of following the same vein of slight horror, we have a dystopian book called The End of Men by Christina Sweeney Bard. This was a book where basically a plague hits the world. They call it the new plague, and we're following multiple perspectives, mostly female, as the plague sweeps across the world and kills 90% of men, basically all those who aren't immune. We follow timeline before the plague as it starts and a couple years down as they try to work through and find a vaccine, and how the world changes and adapts as men basically fall into non-existence in our planet. It is so good. I would give this to any age range, really, over the age of like 16, if they're looking for dystopian, if we're feeling very like anti-man, they're not into the Kris Kringle vibe, they want something a little darker, I would definitely recommend this. Even if they are an older teen and we're more into sort of the Hunger Games, Divergent, I think this would be a really great like first toe into adult fiction, because it's very fast paced. It just keeps you flipping through the pages, and just the premise of it alone really calls into question the world we currently live in. So really great gift. Next I have Like Me by Haley Phelan. This is a book where we are following a young model in New York City as she tries to basically social climb her way to the top. But more importantly, we're following her obsession with another model who looks kind of similar to her, but she's really mirroring her life after this model through the lens of Instagram. So it's a really interesting sort of introspection into our culture and the social media culture as a whole. I really enjoyed this. I would give this is like the perfect book for anyone between the ages of like 18 to 28 who grew up like with the social media boom and looking at the direct correlation of how it might affect our mental health. Obviously, in a more elevated way because it's fiction. We get to watch obsession with social media culture, obsession with social media moguls and influencers, and I just found it really, really fascinating to read. I picked this up after recently deleting all of my social media, so it was actually kind of fortuitous to pick it up at that time, but this is really, I'm telling you, I read this in like 2 days. It's a great gift. It's a great gift for someone in that age range that kind of fell out of reading. I think it will get them right back to it because really it is just nonstop and it's under 300 pages. Next on the list, we have Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I feel like she's going to make the list any and every year I do this. Sally Rooney is just quintessential new adult reading, I think, at this point. So in this one we followed a female friendship one young woman has sort of retired out of the London spotlight as she recently sort of found her way and really blossomed as a writer. As soon as that happens, we find her suffering from mental illness and takes a step back out of that spotlight. Her other friend works in publishing, so they're maintaining this sort of long distance relationship, friendship, and we're following them simultaneously as they are meeting men and struggling to stay connected in such an impactful way when they're both going through separate things. It's just quintessential Sally Rooney. The plot is meandering and loose at best, but she does her best work when she's doing character work and character observations anyway. So I definitely would recommend this for really anyone over the age of 16, again, who likes contemporary fiction, who likes very slow character observation. There's light romance in it, but it really does focus more on female friendship. So obviously if they read and or watched Normal People, if they read Conversations with Friends, this is a natural gift I would lean towards when gifting out to friends this year. Next, for all of my romance readers, I would recommend The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This was a debut novel from this author, and it was self-published. It has been picked up now by one of the big publishing companies. However, there's a good chance if you are gifting for a romance reader that they have not read this because it was self-published. It did see a boom on the internet and really created a big following. So in the months to come, I'm sure we're going to see it just absolutely everywhere. But for now, if you have a romance reader in your house, it's slow burn, it's enemies to lover, and it's a little less well known, because I know romance readers, they will pre-order, they will pick up the newest and the shiniest as soon as it comes out. It's a good shout to go for this one. I think it's a safe bet. And it's just a wonderful romance. It's a beautiful romance. We are following a young lady as she's going back to Spain for a wedding, and through circumstance, accidentally basically leads her family to believe she has a boyfriend. So she takes her co-worker, Aaron Blackford, to the wedding, who she maybe despises a little but definitely likes as well, and he just loves to give her a hard time. So it's a really cute romance. Definitely would recommend for this holiday season. Now we're going to get into some fantasy. Obviously, I was just going to recommend Brandon Sanderson, full stop, my whole Sanderson shelf, if they like Robert Jordan, Wheel of Time, something like that. I also debated suggesting Robin Hobb, who maybe is a little, she's not lesser known, but maybe has a little less clout these past couple of years, if they also like traditional fantasy. But in the end, I actually went for Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. So it's a big old boy. I think it's like 800 pages. Yeah, so it's about 800 pages. The reason I suggest this is if you're buying for a fantasy reader this year, this is a standalone as of right now. Who knows what these authors are going to do in the future, but as of right now, this is a standalone, and it's really a world unto itself. I think it's a great mix of newer kind of fantasy. It's not just like traditional European old fantasy, but it's also a really beautiful mix of, like, if they like Wheel of Time, if they like Game of Thrones, from the world building aspect and the immersion of it all, this is definitely one I would suggest, because it really feels like Samantha Shannon knew her world. It was really fleshed out. I have a really good idea of what it looked like, what it feels like. Everything about it was so immersive. And I think for a fantasy reader this holiday season, it's really nice sometimes just to get a standalone, especially if it's a fantasy reader in your household or friendship circle. A lot of us are in the middle of God knows how many series. So it's nice sometimes just to pick up a book, know this will be the beginning and end of the story. It is all wrapped up in one pretty little bow, and there is no there is no commitment that you have to really do by reading the first page. So I would recommend The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Next on the list, I actually have the anniversary edition of Dune because the movie came out and I've seen so many copies moving in and out through our store. I have sold a lot of these anniversary editions to customers who were buying for people who have read Dune and it was their favorite book. This I'm purely selling on how beautiful it is. And if you're buying for someone who it's their favorite book and now it's turned into a movie, it kind of has embossed "Fear is the mind killer." I don't think you can actually see it, but yeah. And these really beautiful, it's like a beautiful blue sprayed edge. So I would definitely recommend this as a, maybe not a first read. If it's someone who saw the movie and really enjoyed it, I would just get them a regular edition because the book is a lot slower than the movie, and can take a little more time to get into. But if they are fans of the book already, I would definitely recommend this. It's just a beautiful edition to have on your shelf. It is pricier, which is why it would be great as a gift. So these go for $54. So sort of the perfect gifting price as well. A lot of people wouldn't want to buy it for themselves, but what a beautiful thing to unwrap, I think. And last but not least, specifically, again, I saved these two because they are pricier. So this was 18 pounds. I'm not exactly sure what that is in Canadian or American, but this is the anniversary illustrated edition of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So it's a really sweet, let me get a traditional paperback. So it's even smaller than a traditional paperback in Canada, US editions. And it comes, we'll take the dust jacket off, just like that. It has gray sprayed edges and then a beautiful bunch of artwork for the end flaps, but as well as like a little bookmark. It also has these really beautiful illustrations throughout the book, pretty well spaced out, and it's also signed by Victoria Schwab. So let me tuck it back. This is my baby, let me tell you. So this, again, a great gifting item because it's a special edition. If they liked The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which came out last year, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous gift to get someone. It's on the pricier side, but it is something that is like beloved on my shelves now, that I have my reading copies somewhere right up there. So I have my reading editions. That's the first edition I got, and I picked up the special edition. But this, when I saw it, I could not believe how gorgeous it was. It is very pricey for one book, but it is so worth it. So for this holiday season, if it's not sold out, this would be a wonderful gift to get someone in your life. Even if they haven't read it, if someone would like a book that is very slow, very flowery writing, basically just about characters, I would definitely recommend this. They would love this. I'm thinking anyone who liked The Night Circus, Starless Sea. It's a little bit less fantabulism, but it is very beautiful and sort of in that same vein. So definitely would recommend this. We're following a young woman in early, I think, 16th century France, if I'm not mistaken, as she makes a deal with the devil. basically getting out of circumstance and saying, I want freedom. For the first time in my life, I want to be free. But obviously that comes with strings attached. She soon finds out that with freedom comes being forgotten and nobody can remember her name. So we're following her immortal life all throughout history as she goes from 16th century France to modern day, being forgotten, and what kind of impact that can have on someone's life. So very beautiful story. That's all I can think of for this holiday season. Basically my top favorites of what I could see for gifting. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.